Welcome to the favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. Look, we are through the draft. We are through free agency. Suddenly, nearly every futures betting market is available. Super Bowl winners, Rookie of the Year, season win totals. This week, we're going to start dabbling with our first impressions. Thursday, we're going to be joined by Danny Parkins, one of my favorite. Danny Parkins, honest to God, maybe one of the most talented sports radio hosts in the country in Chicago. Might have my dream job, actually. He's going to come along. He's going to talk NFC, obviously, Chicago bent because of Caleb Williams and the draft that they had. Today, Simon and I are going to do pass or play for every AFC team. Pass or play is one of my favorite stories that we do every week during the NFL season, where we give a pass or a play on every game. So we're borrowing the concept, bringing it into the show. Joining me, as always, as I mentioned, my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad.
Simon, if we were doing a roast right now, I feel like I would get to be the host of your roast. Would Matt Mitchell get to come? Would producer Tito come? How inspired were you by Tom Brady's roast the other night?
I'm pretty inspired, but honestly, Matt Mitchell. I love you, Chad, and you are my number one. But Matt Mitchell might be the host. I feel like he's better with the one-liners. You are funny, but you're written funny. And Matt Mitchell, I feel like in the moment could do some great improvisation, which we saw with Kevin Hart. You need it, right? There's gonna be a lot of awkward moments in a roast. So I would love seeing you try to transition in a roast. That would be something. I mean, if Bet365 wants to sponsor a roast of Simon, I definitely would allow it.
Who was your favorite? I know we were talking a lot about the roast before, and Nikki Glazer was amazing. Kevin Hart was amazing. The roast has been all over socials for the past 48 hours. You had a very specific favorite.
Yeah, definitely for comedians. As people know that are listeners of the show, I'm obsessed with Kill Tony, which is a comedy show Tony Hinchcliffe runs. And, I thought he did great. But to me, of the athletes, Drew Bledsoe, I was blown away how funny and clever he was. Now, I know a lot of that's written by comedians, but a lot of it was written by him and was good personal shots. I mean, my favorite thing was him making fun of Brady for having a yellow Jeep, which isn't even that funny. But Brady got upset about it, where he said something during the show, like, I didn't have a yellow Jeep. He goes, yes, you fucking did. And don't deny it, Tom, which I just thought was great, where it's just total big brother syndrome, where it's doesn't matter, Tom's 7-time Super Bowl winner. He's still for some reason, he's still Drew Bledsoe's little brother, which is just hilarious to me. So
By the
yeah,
way,
loved it.
this is bullshit. I'm so good off prompter. I'm so good with one-liners. I'm so good spontaneous in the moment.
Are you better than Matt Mitchell, though? That's the question.
I'm not saying I'm better than Matt Mitchell, but it doesn't have to be about me being bad in the moment. Maybe Matt Mitchell's just amazing.
It's true.
It's like every time I'm talking to my wife and we're talking about something, she'll point something out to our kids about something I'm bad at. I'm like, this isn't about me. Why does it have to be about something I'm bad at? Can it just be good feedback for our children? Meanwhile, Saturday, Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Biggest, most bet Kentucky Derby of all time. And this is the inanity of betting the Kentucky Derby. So my buddy Dan was texting me during the week. Dan is not a sports fan at all, to the point where we were talking about bet. He wanted to bet the Derby. He's asking me how to do it. And he's like, by the way, when is the Derby? Saturday morning? I'm like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to go bet the Derby. You don't even know when the Derby is on. You don't know what network it's on. Of course, Dan bets Mystic Dan amongst many other bets, and he wins. I don't win anything.
Not shocking that your friend is an egomaniac and would bet on a horse just because his name's in the horse's name.
He made a lot of bets. It happened to be one of them. That's funny. How'd you do in the Derby?
Total wash. I missed it as well. I bet it, but I missed it. It's the worst feeling ever when you check the account hoping you hit and you just see the zeros and you go, God damn it. but
Ofer,
that's
Ofer.
betting.
I had trifectas. I had exactas. I had 3 or 4 horses to win. None of them were Mystic Dan. Uh, Next time. We'll get them next time. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. As a reminder, every episode of The Favorites is live on YouTube. For those enjoying on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. All right, Simon, we want to get through 16 AFC teams in this podcast. Again, we're not going to go like deep on each division. We're going to save that for when we get closer and we do our previews in August. But we do want to do a pass or play on each team. And if there is going to be a play, a little bit of a hint of which side we're leaning. First up, AFC East, New England right now. Season win total is 5.5. It's juiced to the under. A couple of tasty ones. They are 35-1 to go winless. Drake May 14-1 to be offensive rookie of the year. 22-1. 22-1 to win the AFC East. I mean, I will start the bidding. This is a play to me on the under. Nothing else is really going to appeal to me.
Yeah, Patriots fans, welcome to hell. This is your new normal. I hope you enjoyed the roast and all the old memories and all the ex-players and reliving all that. You had the best run ever of 20 years, and now you're going to be irrelevant for 20 years. I mean, May could be your savior. The odds say he has less than a 30% chance of even being a Pro Bowl quarterback. So it's all bad, man. Like I know Patriots fans like to convince themselves that you guys have good players on defense and your defense played well last year. You just lost the best defensive mind we've ever seen in football in Belichick. It's gonna be rough. I wish there was some part of me that loved this underdog story of this team that no one believes in, but you guys were what the Cardinals were last year. It's just like you might steal a game here and there and upset the Cowboys and shock the world and maybe win 4 or 5. Hey, 6 games, not crazy, but there's a reason people are just hammering this under. You're just a really bad team with bad skill positions on offense in a really tough division. Like it's crazy how hard your division is now. And it just never was this way the whole Brady era. Now you have 3 teams with 3, we could say top 12 quarterbacks when Rodgers fully healthy. As much as people want to hate on Tua and Rodgers, like they are very good throwers and they can win some games. So I don't see how the Patriots win more than 1 game in their division, Chad. It's just hard for me to get behind them stealing games where they've lost now Belichick, like the Belichick magic. As much as they wanted to hate on him and they needed a change, they're going to see what that change feels like. So I'm with you on that one, Chad. This is definitely an under. I bet at 5.5. I don't mind betting at 5 if you're scared off by the juice, but just a disaster upcoming season for this Patriots team.
All right, so you're saying you did bet New England. I'm just going to take some notes here because I want to make sure we're tracking this appropriately over the course of the show and over the next 3 months. You mentioned Tua, Miami, really good season last year, right up until the playoffs.
Yeah.
9.5 wins, juice to the over. Mike McDaniel, 25-1 to be coach of the year. Tua, 12-1 most passing touchdowns. Raheem Mostert, 9-1 to lead the league in rushing touchdowns. Obviously, there's no value on that. It's inflated because of what he did last year. But this is a very interesting team. And they were so hot to start the year and then kind of lost their momentum. Tua got a little bit exposed. Teams figured out how to play him. Obviously, in the playoffs, They looked terrible against the Chiefs. One of our favorite bets was Tua under his total completions in that game, and he barely hit it. But he did hit it because the Chiefs had figured it out and gotten so good at pressuring the quarterback. Tricky team. 9.5 wins with the Jets improved feels high to me.
It feels high, but it also feels right. This is a boom or bust team. Like we saw them put 70 points up last year. I don't know if they've improved in any way, but they will improve because it's another year of Tua in this system. So it's like, all right, I trust their coach. I trust their offense. I trust them to put up points. I don't know. They've made some really questionable moves on defense. Like they let their best defender go. And I don't know, Chad. Like you're right. Like I probably should take the under here, but I'm with you where it's May. Like I have a huge, really strong opinion on that Patriots team. Miami here, it's like it's right there. Like when I look at them, I have them at 9-10 wins. It feels right. I want to take the under though, just because I do think their defense has regressed. But it's like what we just talked about. We have flashes of Tua. When Tua's in Miami and it's nice and warm out, he's really good. They're a really good offense. When like Tyreek Hill can stretch it out, the run blocking scheme, everything they do is really well. So I'm with you, Chad. No real feel for it, but I lean towards the under.
Right now, it feels like if we're playing pass or play, this is a pass, which is why I don't want to spend too much time on
Yeah.
it. Whereas the Jets at 9.5, Jets with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, Jets with a revamped offensive line, Jets treating the draft and free agency as if they are going to win now because the window with Rodgers is so small. Couple different things that I like about the Jets. The 9.5 wins, Robert Saleh 14-1 to win Coach of the Year. Robert Saleh got a lot of shit last year. And I know that there are reasons for that, and there was locker room discontent. In my opinion, the guy did a masterful coaching job. That team stayed tight in so many games. They won more games than they ever should have. The poor guy was left with nothing on the roster. They went all in on Aaron Rodgers, did not give him any help in the quarterback room if Aaron Rodgers went down. I don't know how Saleh didn't do a brilliant job. If the Jets overachieve this year, they are certainly a play for me at 9.5 wins. Little taste of Saleh at 14-1.
Yeah, and I'll give them both shit for the fact they wrote it out of Zach Wilson and didn't go get Flacco. When Flacco wanted to go there, he's right down the street here in Haddonfield, New Jersey, like literally an hour and a half drive from their facility. Inexcusable. And that is why what you just touched on, they didn't draft a quarterback at pick 10. Like they dropped down. They're happy to let JJ go to the Vikings because they know they're not going to be here. I really do think both of them thought they were going to be fired last year if they didn't produce. But because Rodgers got hurt, the owner right away was like, you know what? You get a freebie. I love betting these type of teams to win divisions, to go over their win totals. This is everyone knows, everyone in that building knows this is it. Like this next year to 2 years is the window for Rodgers, and then it's over. Rodgers might come back and be half the man he was. That is better than any quarterback they've had for, let's say, 20, 30 years. I mean, it's incredible how bad they are and how much smarter and gifted of an athlete he is than anyone they've ever had in that building. So he might not be the man he was after this injury, right? His movement in the pocket, getting outside the pocket was already lacking heading into this major injury at his age. But we've seen it now. Like medical technology has come so far. It might hinder him a little bit, but he is going to be the general on that field. And they have so many weapons around him. You saw, I mean, Bryce Hall, like we even talked about the skill positions they have on that team. It's incredible. So, yeah, people won't be shocked here. I love their over. Like last year, I mean, you were all aboard fading them because they were just,
Yep.
there was no value there. This year, we love it, right? I love their win total over. I love them divisionally. To me, they're the team that's taken the biggest steps this offseason to be the best team. Now Rodgers coming back, he's just out for blood. Like this is when you want to back Rodgers. Not in the playoffs. Me and Chad will be really happy to fade him in the playoffs, but regular season, love this Jets team.
The idea of Aaron Rodgers and how good he can be, we had David Bakhtiari on the pod last month. I thought he was amazing. But you had asked him a really smart question about Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. And the way he described Aaron Rodgers in practice, the way he described the way he throws the ball, the awe and reverence with which he talked about him just as a player, and the way he said something very specific about the GM and the executives and player development telling their scouts, you can't look at future quarterbacks and compare them to Aaron Rodgers because what he
Right.
does on a daily basis in practice is not repeatable. And I think about that when I think about Aaron Rodgers at full health, being able to play on this team with Garrett Wilson. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, Garrett Wilson won them games with Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. So if they have Aaron Rodgers, as I like to say in New York, forget about it.
There you go.
See? See? I pulled that. That wasn't scripted, Simon. I could have used that at the roast.
Yeah. No, everyone says you got an edge to you, Chad. Now we're seeing it.
Matt Mitchell is desperate for us to talk about the Buffalo Bills
Yeah, right.
and their development, lack thereof, their place in the pantheon of AFC teams. Last year, we freaking loved the Bills. 10.5 wins, juice to the under, plus 150 to win the division, 12 to win the Super Bowl. Same as Cincinnati, by the way, which we liked about 6 weeks ago at 18 to 1, close to 20 to 1. I'm a little down on the Bills. I'm not betting the under necessarily, but I'm not high on the Bills like we were last year.
Yeah, I threw a small bet on their under. A couple books opened them at 10.5, 11. It was like, all right, I'll throw a small bet on the under here. It's only gone down since then because now they've gotten rid of Diggs and everything. So I'm with Chad. If you don't want to bet it, like it's scary as hell to bet against Josh Allen. Like plus 170, that's all I'm getting for him to miss the playoffs. Come on, bet 365. At least give me plus 200. Like, what are we doing here? Is it really plus 170? That's it. That's very telling. It is telling. That means people have hit that under. So professional money has clearly driven that number down. I mean, it's scary to bet against Josh Allen in this position, Chad, but it feels like that's the bet. Like you expect them to have regression this year because they're clearly transitioning into a different type of team. Like they got rid of Gabe Davis, they got rid of Stephon Diggs. You saw the second half of the year, they became a more run-oriented team to try to
Yeah.
protect Josh Allen, especially in the red zone. It worked out for him. I mean, that's what you were talking about. You said we loved them last year. We really didn't, but then the second half, we were like, hey, if 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 for them to win the division right now, the path was there. We got really lucky where they ran perfect. At the end of the season, they did win the division where Miami collapsed. We all expect the Bills to have a season from hell, and usually that's a bad spot to be in, right? That usually doesn't work that way in football. It's never that easy, but how can you sit here and be positive about the Bills? What have they done to make you feel positive heading into this upcoming season, right? This is, to me, the worst thing they've had at least in the last 3 years. When you look at all the pieces, I mean, it's just all that Josh Allen money's kicking in, and now you got 30 mil in dead cap, whatever it is, to just have the cancer that Stephon Diggs is off your team. So you expect them to not be that good this year, right? So for us, them being the favorite to still win this division, that's probably the most shocking thing. I think that's the respect that Josh Allen gets. So you're right, Chad. It's either the under for me or just nothing at this point.
All right. So in our pass or play game for the AFC East, we are definitely on New England and the under. We are definitely on the Jets and the over. We are non-committal to a pass right now on, in general, Miami markets and Buffalo markets. AFC North. Last year, this was the best division in football. Every team went over their season win total. Every team had at least 9 wins. They proved it week in and week out that this was the most competitive team, most competitive division. Now, Pittsburgh, I don't know why bookmakers do this, and the juice shows it. Pittsburgh is at 7.5 wins, minus 180 to the over. Mike Tomlin, rah-rah spot. Like, you just got to bet the over. He's never not had a 500 season or better. So why would this season be any different for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You're right. And it's funny, last year at this point, I remember being out on Pittsburgh, and then like a freaking fool, I got sucked in on Kenny Pickett because he threw a couple deep balls in preseason. I was like, yep, he found it. That was total sham. Got lucky last year, like hammered their over because I was all in on Pittsburgh, and God was that a sweat, and it still hit somehow, Chad. So
Yeah.
you're right. It's like The man has never gone under, has never had a losing season. And this is the two highest upside best quarterbacks they've had in the building since, 2015, 2016, fully good to go Roethlisberger. So it's been 9 years about of below subpar level quarterback play for Pittsburgh, and Tomlin's gone over the win totals. Like he's performed really well every time he's a low win total like this. So like I just said, this is juiced up to -180 now. If you hate the juice, you can wait. I think it might touch 8. I think eventually it might get there. But if you want to play the safer bet and get the 7.5 right now, totally get it. But I'm willing to wait, and hopefully it goes up to 8 and I don't have to pay -180 on the juice.
Yeah, I would totally wait on this and just take it at the 8. So you're either pushing or you're just paying less. Like,
Yes.
of course you're going to wait because you got to get to 8 to win the bet anyways. Tomlin's just like Tomlin is good for 2 to 3 games he shouldn't win on the road because their defense makes a fluke play uh, every single year. And that's the difference between winning 5 games and winning 8 games, or winning 6 games and winning 9 games. It's the difference between having a top 10 pick and being in the middle of the pack every year.
Yep.
For better or for worse, Tomlin is able to figure out how to do that for his team. So kudos to him. Cincinnati Bengals. As they've said before, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. 10.5 wins, juiced over. I don't love that, but I did love the Bengals at 18 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Like I said, now down to 12 to 1. Burrow 9 to 1 MVP, 6 to 1 to lead the league in touchdown passes. Jamar Chase 12 to 1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. There's a million ways to look at this Bengals team. Simon, is this one of your favorite plays so far this year in the AFC?
Definitely love it. I mean, you've talked multiple times now about Cincy and how we feel about them. We luckily got a good number on them for Super Bowl futures, and they've just only come down. But yeah, to me, they're the best value in this division. And the fear is, like, again, talked to a lot of professionals who love this bet as well. That's why the numbers come down. The fear is always going to be Joe Burrow and his health. Like,
Yeah.
we've had multiple seasons now, the kid getting hurt. That's a real issue. Like, I want to gloss over it, but it's a problem. Like, we're putting big money on a future market on a person that, you know, he got us to the Super Bowl in an incredible run, but his other seasons he's been banged up and running for his life. And okay, did they fix the offensive line issues? Is he more protected? Is he still going to have his issue of holding on to the ball too long and taking these unnecessary hits? These are major issues as a bettor. So me and Chad love this team. But we're telling you now, if this is probably one of the least safe teams to bet. Like, there's no doubt. And we're talking about these, like, these are not on the same level as the Chiefs. The Chiefs feel so much safer, where Cincy does not feel safe. So you are getting a bad number right now in Super Bowl market. Don't touch that. Me and Chad already hit it. Don't touch it. The Bengals, we've seen this history of Joe Burrow for some reason keeps missing time in the preseason, and then they come out on a slow start. Like, this has happened multiple times with them. If you want, you can just wait on that type of future market where there's Super Bowl futures now because you've already missed a good number. 6 to 1 him TD passing leader. I don't know. It feels like they run the ball a decent amount and they get in the red zone. So that's another bet that's a little weird where it's that low. But me and you, we love Joe Burrow. Like, I think we both said we probably have him as the second guy we trust the most behind
Yes.
Mahomes in a game. So I don't want Cincy fans to feel like, well, I'm bashing you guys here. It's the question mark with Joe. Can Joe stay on the field and not take these unnecessary hits? So don't mind. It's juiced towards the over. I love this team to win this division. Love this team towards their 10.5 over. It's just they're the most complete best team right now. And this is the last year. It really feels like they can hold it all together because, they're going to lose T. Higgins. They're going to lose a bunch of guys, a couple of guys in the defense next year. So this does feel like this is it for the Cincinnati team.
Yeah, the Joe Burrow question obviously is massive. And I think it's why it's almost like the bookmakers forgot Joe Burrow was on the Bengals when they listed the Bengals at 18 to 1 to start the year, because that got hit so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, we move markets here at the favorites. And I'm glad we got it. But look, there's one quarterback who has kept Patrick Mahomes out of the Super Bowl, and it's Joe Burrow. And I think what makes it a little bit scary is the AFC is just loaded, right? You look at the NFC, you'll bet on anyone, you'll spray the field. We'll talk about this on Thursday because nobody's dominant. You look at the AFC, and the Bengals could be dominant. The Ravens could be dominant. The Chiefs could be dominant. And like, we're not even talking about teams that have improved. So it is just a crapshoot. And yet we are going to go all in on the Buffalo Bills. It's how we're going to do it. I mean, on the on the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just how we're going to do it. Baltimore Ravens. I don't like anything about it. 11.5 wins, juice to the under. Lamar, 10-1 MVP. He's not going to repeat. Everything about the Ravens right now is overinflated.
Yeah, and I mean, no shocker to any Ravens fan or people that just know how we operate here, but they're an easy team to fade this year. They've lost so many good veterans from that team from the previous season. They just haven't replenished because the Lamar money's kicking in. Like, they just paid him a huge contract last year in the offseason. Like, that's a real thing. So Derrick Henry signing was cool. Like, that's seeing him and Lamar together, that's really cool. But I don't know how much better he is than some other guy at his age with all those miles on the tread. Like, he's a great player, but he doesn't really move the needle where, when the Eagles got Saquon, that kind of moved the needle a little bit for him with the Eagles, where, Derrick Henry is cool, but I don't know if it's that big of a deal. So, yeah, easy team to bet for regression. You don't have to do it, but I bet them to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying it's one of my favorite bets, but there's a couple books out there, 275, 300. Bet 365 is 260 for them to miss the playoffs. I like that value on this team. Just would expect them being a hit away on Lamar from their season just falling apart. And it's a guy who, he had a couple plays last year. He just got out of it. And it's like, he's going to get caught on one of these. And that's definitely a team that you bet for regression, especially in that division that they didn't have to face this really dominant Joe Burrow team. Even Pittsburgh, in a game they lost to them, it was like, that's just the Pittsburgh style playing them. So there's just a couple ways they can get to the under. The fact that it's 11.5 as well, Chad, that's such a high win total. So
massive number.
Yes, in that division. So yeah, the under, again, you can bet the missed playoffs with me. That wouldn't be my biggest bet. The under 11.5 to me, that's the position you take here on this team.
Look, Derrick Henry, to me, it's just not that much of an impact because we know when push comes to shove, literally, the Ravens might not run the ball because look at what they did against the Chiefs, right? Like, they just decided.
You hope they learn from it.
What's that?
I mean, you hope they learn from it, but yeah, like, even like we didn't even talk about it, they've lost coordinators. They've been stripped. Like, that team we saw with the Eagles last year, losing important coaches, important players. It's a big deal. It's just not all going to be roses like it was last year for this Baltimore team.
The most interesting team in this division, Cleveland Browns. 8.5 wins, juice to the over. Deshaun Watson, 80-1 most passing touchdowns. Look, this defense is so freaking good. And then they would be terrible, just terrible on the road.
It was crazy.
But at home, one of the most dominant defenses ever. On the road, one of the worst defenses ever. We saw that play out in the playoffs. What do we do about this team? What do we do about Deshaun Watson? It's freaking Groundhog Day, dude. Like, we had the same exact conversation. Everything about this division and the upside in this division and the ROI in this division depends on what you believe about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and they're just a cursed franchise. I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, the bad luck they have, no team suffer like the Cleveland Browns suffer. It's crazy. I mean, the best game we've ever seen Deshaun Watson play was when he was on an incredible amount of drugs against the Baltimore Ravens in that second half, where he was down 14 points. I think he went 15 for 15 passing when he had a dislocated or broken collarbone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to think here. I feel like Watson is so in his head that it's just been impossible for him to be the player he used to be. Like, when he's not thinking, when he's whatever, he's incredible. Like, we know the talent's there. The talent's always been there. He just has not looked like the Deshaun Watson of old. He's he just hasn't. So there's no, I can't be convinced on this one. Like last year, I was all in on this team, and I felt very fortunate to hit their over and all that. But this year, I just don't have the confidence in Deshaun Watson. I don't know what he is, what I'm getting, and as much as you want to praise that defense, they have lost some players off that defense. They're still going to be really dominant, but like, is that enough for them to win this division? Is that enough for me and you want to put our money on it? It's just, I can't get behind it when we're so in love with Joe Burrow and that team. So, no real play for me on this Browns team. I'll pass.
I believe it's a pass. Pittsburgh, we like it at 8 wins. We're going to wait because the juice is too high at 7.5. So that will be a play. Cincinnati is a play at 10.5 wins over. It is juiced to the over. We feel like the value is gone in them going to winning the Super Bowl. That was at 18-1. Now it's 12-1. I would say we're making a play on Baltimore under 11.5 wins.
Yeah.
To me, that feels like a definitive play.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Browns were a pass right
Yeah.
now. All right. Well, so far so good. We're halfway through the AFC. Simon, can you name the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States?
Game time.
That's right. It's Game Time. I love Game Time for 2 reasons. First, they still sponsor this show. Second, I use Game Time all the time because they have amazing last minute deals on pro and college sports. Speaking of which, I'm opening the Game Time app right now from my house here in Connecticut. Guess what? I can go see on a beautiful freaking night the New York Yankees for less than $30. No matter where you live, download the Game Time app, get out, have some fun this week. You deserve it. You can redeem code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just download the Game Time app and use code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. AFC West. Last year, the Denver Broncos, they just burned us. Like, we were all in on Sean Payton. We were all in on Russell Wilson. We were all in on the over.
Yeah.
We nearly got there, like came so close to getting there until Sean Payton decided, I got to get out of the Russell Wilson business and just benched him at the end of the year. Now, what is being described as the most arrogant move in the draft, taking Bo Nix, who most people had a second round grade on, and putting him at number 12 overall. That's what Sean Payton did. Basically tying his future to Bo Nix's success. Season win total right now, 5.5. 5-1 to make the playoffs. Sean Payton, 28-1 to win Coach of the Year. Someone's got to be bad in this division.
Yeah, they're an easy pick. Just bet the under. Don't overthink it. I mean, they're bad. And like you said, total ego move taking Bo Nix at that pick. He's either going to look like a genius or he's just slowly getting rid of all of his good karma he built over his career at Drew Brees. And he's going from being one of the best minds in football to kind of turning into a joke. So, yeah, just a year of rebuilding for Denver. Like, you expect them to be bad this year. They have a ton of dead money on the cap. It's just, they'll be bad. In this division, I'm with Chad. I have them as the fourth worst team. So, like the under of 5.5.
It's such a bummer because I love Sean Payton. I love him as a coach. I
Yeah.
love the stories I've heard about him. He seems like an incredible hang. I think he's obviously a brilliant football coach. I want this to work for him so badly. I want Bo Nix to be great. I want him to prove everybody wrong. I'd almost bet this and then root against it just because I'm such a huge Sean Payton fan. But golly gee, this team is in some serious roster turmoil right now.
Yeah, it makes people feel better. I have them at 4.5 wins. So, like, this is definitely a bigger edge I have as a full game. So 5.5 feels like it's pretty heavy.
That's good intel.
Yeah.
That's how much of an edge did you have on the other totals we've bet with the other plays we've made? New England was at 5.5. What was your edge there?
Yeah, like that's another one. Like, again, it's rare to get over a game or half a
Yeah.
game of an edge, where there's always gonna be those rare unicorns, which again we'll bring up and talk about. But like that Rams 6.5 last year, I had them at 8.5. Like 2 games, it's rare you get that big of an edge because it is so heavily opinion based, like betting these kind of markets, right? Like, the books can try to build off last season, but it really is that they put the numbers out and they let the market dictate where they're going to move these numbers. So yeah, rare do you get over a game of value just because the professionals are so sharp. They don't leave that much meat on the bone.
Sure, but like I'm assuming every game that we've talked about, you've got a half a game to a game
Yeah.
edge,
Oh
right?
yeah. No,
So
if
like,
I give out a picker, it's right now, whatever I'm giving out, it's a game edge.
okay, got
Yeah.
it.
Like if we're
So
betting this early, I need a big edge to bet this early.
so we bet New England under 5.5. You got him at four and a
Four
half.
and a half.
Jets, you got him at 10.5. We liked him
Yep.
at 9.5. Cincinnati, 10.5. I guess you like him at 11.5.
And actually have them at, you could literally, they're almost at 12. It was like 11.75. So like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, about to be
Okay.
12.
Um, Philly, I'm sorry, Baltimore under 11.5. You probably have him at 10.5. And Denver, you've got at 4.5. So Kansas City, 11.5 wins. Of course, we want to bet the under. And of course, we're not going to because it's Patrick Mahomes and we just don't know. And they finally got a receiver in Xavier Worthy, who everyone thinks can be that field stretcher with good hands that they were missing last year. And they still won the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes, all of it's crazy. Like as much as like, even we were talking about Brady, I'm thinking about he's the GOAT. He never had to deal with the kind of shit that Mahomes deals with on the offseason. Like his brother's getting arrested for assault and his dad's getting DUIs, and this dude's performing the highest level you can be in the same week in the Super Bowl. He's just there's nothing that can shake this dude. Like that season last year was a season from hell, and they flipped their season, went on this insane run. And the hardest mathematically, you look through the data, it's the hardest run ever to a Super Bowl to win a Super Bowl. Like that was arguably the greatest run we've ever seen from how tough of a road they had to go through, right? On the road, all those games they won. So yeah, if you like the Chiefs over 11.5, you can bet it. It's gonna be juiced. What a lot of people like to do, a lot of pros like to do, is take them where, like, say I love the Eagles this year to win the division. It's one of my favorite bets. You just pair them with the Chiefs to win the division. Like that might be minus 225, minus 230 at most books right now to win this division. I mean, we're gonna get into it, but like the only team you have any type of fear at all with are the Chargers, and that is so small. The fear is so small because they're in a rebuilding mode. Like they're not. This ain't gonna be a quick turnaround, right? Chargers. The next year is a real turnaround year, but if any team's gonna shock the world, it would be them, just because we have the type of respect for Harbaugh and obviously Herbert at the quarterback position. So the Chiefs. I got them at minus 350, minus 400. Like I love them for their division. So if you're looking for my favorite bet division wise, it's the Chiefs. Like they're far above the best team, the most complete team in this division. The fact that it's still under 250 at most books, I love that value. So if you want to parlay them with another team to cut down on that juice, I get it, but got no issue betting this one straight. I love this Chiefs to win this division.
Well, look, it's amazing how quickly things change, right? 2 seasons ago, when the Chargers had Herbert and had gone to the playoffs, and the Broncos had just signed Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
and the Raiders were being the Raiders, who we
Yeah, when
thought
got
might be getting.
Devontae Adams, the pairing with Derek
Yeah,
Carr.
they had Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. We were talking about the AFC West as the best division in football. We were talking about the Chiefs as being like a team that had reached its peak, and all they've done since then is win 2 straight Super Bowls,
Yep.
and the rest of the division has fallen off such a freaking cliff that the Broncos are under 5.5. The Raiders, their season win total is 6.5. I would take the Raiders under 6.5 right now, and it's juiced to the over. So
I was gonna say I know a lot of pros who love the over.
really, why?
Yeah, that's a pros Joe's game. I'm with you. Like I wanted to take the under, and the professionals love this Raiders to the over. They got a lot of guys I talked to have them at 8 wins, which I was shocked. So I have them at 6. So I bet him half a game to the under. So I would tell listeners of this show, just stay away. Like there's just something off about that one because usually when the pros like a team like this, and I'm like, well, you're just Vegas bias. It's like, no, it's a lot of the guys I know they're up here in the Northeast that are the ones that are hitting it. So, pretty interesting. They love Antonio Pierce, and I don't know. Maybe they believe in the Minshew magic. I've seen enough of Minshew. I just can't get behind it. I just can't do it. So, I'll stay away from that one. But I'm with you, Chad. My gut instinct was like pound this team under, but I'm gonna pass on it.
Well, look, the Raiders did something that no other team since the Raiders and before them, no other team since the Raiders had done. Draft quarterback or draft tight ends back to back in the
Terrible.
draft.
Yeah, terrible.
So they signed Christian Wilkins. That's great.
Yep.
So they got Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins on the defensive line. Gardner Minshew was great last year because Shane Steichen made him great,
Yeah.
right? Like that was a testament in so many different ways. As a football fan, you saw how brilliant Shane Steichen was. You saw it in how Jalen Hurts struggled. You saw it in how the Eagles struggled. You saw it in how Anthony Richardson was playing in control with accuracy and athleticism before he was injured. And then you saw it in the way Gardner Minshew was un-Gardner Minshew like in how often he would throw the ball away. He was great. He had a great year, and it got him a really nice deal with the Raiders. Antonio Pierce is not the offensive genius and the strategic genius for the offensive side of the ball that Shane Steichen is. He's great motivationally. He's great
Yeah, I
on
think he's a
defense.
Tomlin type. He just reminds me of Tomlin.
Yeah, like he's going to win.
Motivator of men.
By the way, that could be why the pros like the Raiders.
Could
There
be.
could be two games, right? And look, the AFC West is not very good. So maybe you steal a game from the Chargers. Maybe you steal two games from the Broncos, and
And
all
they
of a
always
sudden,
play the Chiefs hard.
right? So all of a sudden, you're 3 games towards needing to win 7, and you got a lot of opportunities now with there being more games to play. So I guess I could see the math, but I don't like it. Pass, pass. LA Chargers, 8.5 wins, juiced to the over. Harbaugh, 550 to be coach of the year. I believe that is the shortest odds. Minus 105 to make the
Crazy.
playoffs. I mean, look, Harbaugh's magic. He'll like his teams don't take the year to regroup. Like his teams just play well the exact year that he gets there. They just do.
Yeah, and he's stepping into like a team that felt like they haven't had a real coach since Marty Schottenheimer. Like it's been a long time since the Chargers have had a good
Yeah,
head
right.
coach. It's bad. Like I want to believe it, but it's another one. I'm just gonna pass for right now. But I'm not trying to get sucked into the hype because this will be by far the best coaching Herbert's ever had in his life. Like this man, he is a great coach. He is a psychopath. He is living in an RV outside the stadium right now. And God bless his poor wife. She knew what she signed up for when she married the man. But man, like I can't imagine being married to this guy living next to the stadium in an RV. He's just one of a kind. I truly love him. So yes, the human side of me wants to slam this over. I love everything about it. The pro in me is like this team, they're just like the Raiders. Like they're equally as terrible just because they have Herbert. I want to give them that benefit, but it's like the rest of their team is so bad right now. Like they have so many aging veterans that they've gotten rid of and moved on from. And you know, going from Keenan Allen to whatever they're going to now is going to shock Herbert like he's never been shocked before. Like the safety valve that Keenan Allen was on third downs, there's nothing like it. Like there's, 5, 6 other guys in the NFL that can do what Keenan Allen does on given routes. Like there's just no one better setting people up and getting open. So, Chad's right. Like I want to get on this one, but I'm going to pass for right now. But don't be shocked in August if I'm talking about taking this team under. There's just too much love for this team. This over feels too high for a team that's just in a rebuild mode.
Don't knock living in an RV. As someone who spent 5 straight spring breaks traveling in an RV with his family, caravanning with another family in an RV, no joke, the greatest family vacation memories I've ever had.
I can smell it. I don't even know what it smells like. It smells like bologna, kind of. I don't know.
Oh my God, it's freaking terrible.
I
It
can't imagine.
it's so awful. Every time we walk into this RV, my wife would look at me, she goes, "What are we fucking doing?" Every single, and yet we went for it every single time. We did it. We freaking loved it. It was so funny. The greatest memories. There's nothing better than that. For like, we'd all get T-shirts.
Oh
The
God.
Millman Rosenberg RV family trip. Then we'd have the date, and we'd all walk into Walmart with the T-shirts on, and we're pushing our carts, and then we are loading up the RVs, and we are raring to go.
Delete this, Matt Mitchell, please.
It is, dude, it is honestly the best vacation I ever had. AFC South, the division no one cares about ever. Tennessee Titans, a team that is so on the decline. I couldn't tell you anything good they've done this offseason. 6.5 wins, expectations so low, it's juiced to the under, 35-1 to go winless. Oh, poor Will Levis.
I know Chad won't believe this, but I actually love Tennessee. They're a super sleeper. If they're just a classic team of if this kid Will Levis can all of a sudden become a good quarterback, they could easily shock the world and win this division and be a really good team. That's just how this division works, where it's like they're all kind of good and they all kind of suck at the same time. And now that CJ's come in, he might be, but we thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be, which is the big dog who's going to run this division now for 10, 15 years. But football doesn't usually work that way. Like CJ could be that dude and he takes this huge step, or now the book is out on him and he has an insane year of regression. And that's the way I kind of look at it. So starting off with Tennessee, I'm not going to do anything here, people. We'll pass on this for right now, but don't be betting this under. Don't be looking at this team as just this awful team. Like this is a team that if the beat writers are giving it a ton of love and Will Levis is read through these QB coaches this offseason and works on his throw mechanics and kind of learns their offense more, they did make a big move. Chad kind of touched over it. They brought in Cleveland's offensive line coach, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal.
No, you're right.
He's one of the
You're
best
right.
minds on football. Like, and they drafted an offensive line. Like, they've done a bunch of stuff where it's like, okay, they're taking steps here to improve. But yeah, just as we sit here right now, right. I don't want to tell people to bet this over 6.5 because I do need to see improvement before I put any type of money on this Tennessee team.
Look, it's a lot of faith in Will Levis. It's a lot
A
of faith
lot.
in Brian Callahan, who's the new head coach. He was the coordinator in Cincy. He didn't call plays in Cincy. Zach Taylor called the plays. But the key, which you just mentioned, Bill Callahan,
That's his name, Bill Callahan. Yes.
Brian Callahan's father, is considered the greatest offensive line coach in NFL history. He's known as the guy who took over the Raiders from John Gruden and took them to the Super Bowl where they lost with Rich Gannon as the quarterback to John Gruden and the Bucks.
Yeah.
But he has made a career the past 20 years of being a brilliant offensive line coach who, like, teams get him and they are immediately better. So you're right. I forgot about that. I don't think I'm ready to buy in because you got a new head coach and a quarterback who really just his best play was chuck it and duck. But like there is optimism for the offensive line. I think
Yeah,
they're doing
no,
the
they
right
fit the
thing.
bill of a team that could be 12 wins and win this division, or 2 wins and Will Levis is done. They're already drafting a new quarterback next year.
You know how I feel about infrastructure. I like to build from the inside out.
Yep.
So I'm a huge fan of building from the offensive line. Jacksonville, a team that so disappointed us last year. Trevor Lawrence so disappointed us. We thought he was ready. We thought he was taking that next step forward. We thought he had found the touch in the red zone. Turns out he kind of didn't do anything. He took a step back, didn't have any touch in the red zone. Doug Peterson and him did not find the magic that we thought would be there with great coach, offensive, great talent. I think they've been lapped in the division, certainly by Houston. 8.5 wins is the total. Give me your take here.
Yeah, and I know some pros who love it because they think they're buying low on Trevor Lawrence, who was injured the second half of the season, and that's just why this team kind of fell apart. But I don't know. I'm with Chad. I'm a little burned by this team just because it was all there, and they did have a total meltdown. It is Trevor Lawrence's fault. Like at the end of the day, it does fall on this kid, and he has not lived up to the expectations yet. And he should keep on improving. And wouldn't be shocked if they go over this win total 8.5 and they do win this division. But Chad's right. I got no interest in this team right now. I'm going to pass on everything. I'm not into them, but they do feel like they're priced correctly. Where it's like, are they the first third best team. Or who are they in this division? No one really knows because we don't know what the hell they are. But yeah, 8.5 by the books. That's a good number for them to put out there just because that's what they are. They're a 500 team right now in a really tough division.
Kind of a classic AFC South team.
Yes.
Nondescript, no players anyone cares about, no passion for anything that they're
Jesus.
doing, no real interest in them from the national media. They are the epitome of an AFC South team. Meanwhile, I do think the Indianapolis Colts are primed.
Yep.
Like Shane Steichen, 14-1 coach of the year. Gimme 8.5 wins, juice to the under. Gimme the over. Like they were on the cusp. Anthony Richardson, kudos to you. Flowers for Simon. You were all over Richardson. He was the real deal before he got injured. And that team, to me, when it comes to the AFC South, they're the competition to the Texans, not anybody else.
It's scary that me and Chad are so locked in step here. This could be my dumbest bet then, because I'm with Chad. I like this one just feels so easy. I love it. They, to me, have the best coach right now in the division and with a ton of upside. I love this team in so many different ways. And, you know, I could be convinced on Houston, obviously, for a multitude of reasons, but there's just no value there. Where the Colts team feel like the value team because they're kind of, you know, not the third team in this division, but it feels that way a little bit. It feels like most people have the Jaguars above them just because Anthony Richardson is so unproven right now, which is fair. But yeah, if we're going long shots that are a fun team that I really like, Colts are one of my favorite teams. Like they're over win and a half, 8.5 is their win total. I'm gonna bet that. I know Chad will bet that. You want to bet them to win the division right now, plus 320 at bet 365. Why not? I like this team. I do think Andrew Richardson's going to get so much better just from last year to this year, just because he's going to be working on his arm and throwing this whole offseason. I've already read stuff about him working and throwing and learning the offense and everything like that. So, yeah, a team that me and Chad will not be shocked if we are just burned severely by this team by the time we get to January. But there's just so much to love here. There's so much untapped potential in this team with high upside. Richardson, another guy the professionals love. Like I talked to a bunch of pros, they slammed him at 60-1, 50-1 to be MVP. I've seen some books now showing him at 41, 30-1 to be MVP. Anthony Richardson. That's pretty crazy to think his numbers move that much. So definitely a team that professionals love.
Simon, I find when you and I are together, things go well.
Yeah, if it's not the Bears. I'm just getting the Bears vibe here, where it's like we're loving this young team with good upside. It's just I keep having that fear where it's like you can't I can't even tell you how many people, Chad, I talked to before the season who are diehard Green Bay fans that were like, "You're making a huge mistake. Don't let Chad suck you in. Green Bay is the team you want to back." Like again, Detroit, we all knew they were really good, but they were like the Bears are the sleepers, Green Bay is the sleepers, and I was like, "No, you don't get it. Justin Fields is going to be the difference." But egg on my face, he went 0 for 2 against Green Bay, and same old. He's gone now. So again, we can move on. But that's my fear here with the Colts, where it's like I don't want to be doing another Bear scenario here. We're just so in love with this quarterback, this incredible athlete at the quarterback position once again.
I think the key difference here is we love the coach. I love the
Yes,
coach
that's
more than I
true.
love the quarterback. I just think the guy's brilliant, and we saw so much evidence of that last year. Houston, 9.5 wins, minus 150 to the over. Everything here is inflated. Stroud, 10-1 MVP. Super Bowl,
Crazy.
16-1. Will Anderson, 30-1 DPOI. I'm passing on everything to do with the Texans right now.
Yeah, the bet we're supposed to make is the under, but what's the rush? People should keep hitting this.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Diggs move. Like the 1 year rental of Stephon Diggs on this team, I love it. Like the guy might be a psychopath and a bum for all we know, but on field when he's producing, he's one of the best receivers in football. Like the guy is incredible. He just totally fell off the map last year, and then cost the Bills dearly in the playoffs. I mean, he is a huge egomaniac. He doesn't want that to be his legacy. Like this guy's out for blood as well. That's why they kind of gave him a 1 year deal. Like they bought the years out of his contract to be like not a prove it year, but it kind of is for Diggs. So for Houston's GMs and everything they've done this offseason, they're one of my favorite teams, like what they've done this offseason. But Chad's so right. Like, as a pro, I'm supposed to go the other way in this one. And I'll be first to admit it. I am scared to bet it just because I do have that much respect for CJ and what he's put on tape. And everything I've done, the organization wise, this offseason has been amazing. Like, I love the moves Houston's made. So it pains me. I really want to hit this over. But in this division, in the AFC, this just feels like it's just too much. Like the value is just not there anymore. So I'm with Chad here. I want to take the under, but I'm happy to wait, let this get to 10, hopefully, and take the under when it does.
Yeah, it's going to get to 10. Like there's too much excitement and
We'll
juice
see
right
because
now.
pros have been hitting this under. So because the public does love the over, but a
Yeah, but
decent amount of pros like the under.
when we get into the preseason and there's more activity and it's not just pros playing
Yep.
these, this thing is going to skyrocket because people are only thinking about CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Will Anderson. Like that's what people are going to look forward to. That's when we can hit the 10. Uh, no doubt about it. 100% believe that. Fascinating team. But the Colts, to me, that's where the value lies right now in the AFC South. Okay. Here's our plays. So everything else is a pass for right now. Again, we're going to move deeper into the offseason. We will do the division by division previews beginning in August. We also are going to have Warren Sharp on the podcast at the end of the month after we have the schedule release. One of our favorite things is like Warren Sharp analyzing the value of rest in the schedule. And we're going to know more about sort of the road these teams face once we get the schedule release. And Warren's going to come on and talk about that. Our plays right now: New England under 5.5. New York Jets over 9.5. These are season win totals. The Cincinnati Bengals over 10.5. Don't forget, Simon and I already bet the Bengals 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. They are now about 12-1. We like Baltimore under 11.5 wins. We like the Denver Broncos under 5.5 wins. We like KC to win the division. And then we like a lot of stuff about Indy. We like 8.5 over. I would take Shane Steichen 14-1 coach of the year. We would take Indy at plus 320 to win the division. We're all over the Colts.
Love it.
Speaking of, the Colts got roasted by Tom Brady. Did you hear that line?
I can't remember what he said.
Colts are just Broncos that don't bleep.
Oh, okay. There you
It was
go,
after
Tom.
Peyton Manning. It's after Peyton Manning came up. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boosts. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will be back with our next episode on Thursday on the Action Network YouTube page, 11 a.m., covering the NFC East, a passer play. We'll have special guest, Chicago Sports Radio host Danny Parkins. Obviously, the Bears, a big part of what's happening in the NFC. Download us from Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until Thursday, love you.